It's mid-March and I'm coming to the end of a 12-day voyage to Northern Norway with P&O Cruises in search of the Northern Lights. Yes, we succeeded, but the memories we'll take home from this trip are about so much more. From driving a dog sled through the Arctic wilderness to meeting the indigenous Sami people up in Finnmark, we had the most incredible winter experiences imaginable. And yes, mid-March is still winter up in the Norwegian Arctic. And I'm going to show you everything day by day. Northern Lights cruises are big business these days, but there is a lot to know about visiting Northern Norway in the winter. Keep watching to find out how we got on, starting with embarking Aurora, the smallest ship in the P&O Cruises fleet, back in Southampton almost 2 weeks ago. But just before we get started, please do check out lifeinnorway.net for more on Northern Norway, cruising in Norway, and all things Norway in English. And if you do enjoy these videos, please consider backing the channel on Patreon. Backers get early access to all the new videos, plus exclusive travel tips from yours truly, a British travel writer who's lived in Norway for almost 14 years now. Now, let's get started back in Southampton. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Southampton. As you can probably tell from the size of my smile, I'm very excited this morning, and that's because it's embarkation day. Yes, I'm getting back on a ship and heading back to Northern Norway, one of my favourite things to do, visiting Northern Norway by ship. Why? Well, it's March right now, and we're hopefully going to see the Northern Lights again, but also the landscapes and the activities at this time of year are second to none. It's a great time to visit Northern Norway, and I'm really looking forward to this trip. Couple of reasons. One, my mother is joining me on this trip. It's her birthday, so I'm really hoping that her first visit to Northern Norway is a memorable one. Secondly, I get to see P&O's Aurora, which is the oldest, smallest ship in the fleet, and it's an adults-only ship. Aurora is a ship I've been interested in for quite some time, and so now I finally get to check that out and bring that to you as well. Embarkation took place at Southampton's Queen Elizabeth II terminal, a new one for me. While not the quickest check-in process, it was well organised, especially the bag drop, and there was plenty of places to sit down while waiting. Before we knew it though, we were heading on board, and it was all smiles. Boarding a ship for the first time is always exciting, and after a quick scan of our boarding pass and check-in at the muster station, it was time to go and see our cabin. Now, I usually stay in inside or ocean view cabins, but on an itinerary like this, only a balcony would do. We were given cabin A290 towards the back of deck 11. I did wonder whether we'd feel a lot of movement being so high up, but only time would tell on that one. Our first impression of the cabin was good. It was bright, and while not the most spacious cabin, there was plenty of storage. We'd asked in advance for the twin bed configuration, but it can also be set up as a double. I slept well throughout the cruise, as did my mum, and honestly, that is the most important thing about any cruise ship cabin. Once we'd unpacked, the bags slid nicely under the bed, and we headed out on the balcony to take a look, and to enjoy the sail away. And of course, at that moment, the heavens opened. While this cutout balcony is relatively rare on modern ships, the setup actually suited us great. On a March cruise to Northern Norway, it kept the worst of the wind away, meaning it was easier to spend time outside looking at the scenery or searching for the Northern Lights. After a lovely dinner in the main dining room, we returned to our cabin to find this birthday card, which put a smile on my mum's face. Welcome to the North Sea. It's day 2 here on Aurora, and we are enjoying the first of 2 sea days between Southampton and Norway. When I first saw this 12-night itinerary, it leaped out at me. The reason? Well, with a late night in Tromsø and 2 overnights in Alta, I knew it would give us a great chance to see the Northern Lights, but also to make the most of our daytime hours too. It would mean more days at sea, but for me, that's absolutely no problem. I love being at sea. As tempting as it is to stay on the balcony and just watch the world go by, there is so much to see and do here on Aurora. Just take a look at this daily programme, full of lectures, art classes, and pretty much everything you could ever think of. Now I've spent most of today exploring the ship. Here's a little bit of what to expect. It is a relatively small ship by modern standards, but it doesn't feel that way walking around. The ship is packed with restaurants, lounges, bars, live music venues, the theatre, and so on and on and on. And today I've got in a lot of steps walking around the promenade deck, always one of my favourite places on a cruise ship. And Aurora's really is good. It's nice and wide, plenty of room to get in the steps. We've had a pretty mild morning so far as well. My mum is currently at an art class. That's something she loves to do when she's on trips like this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she comes back with. After 2 days at sea, it is really nice to be on land. I've had a great time on the 2 sea days, but it's always nice to set foot on land. And what a welcome we had this morning in Åndalsnes, the town you can see right behind me. It has been an amazing day of outdoor experiences, seeing Trollveggen, going up on the Romsdal gondola, and just experiencing an introduction to Norway in the winter. Here's how the day played out. It was an early start for us, as although we had a trip planned for the afternoon, we wanted to take a look around the town first. Many guests from the ship headed straight to the train station to grab tickets for the Golden Train, but we took a stroll around the port and along the waterfront instead. It was actually the first chance for us to see the ship properly from the outside. On a spur-of-the-moment decision, we booked tickets for a guided bus shuttle to Trollveggen, or the Troll's Wall, Europe's tallest vertical rock face. The 90-minute trip included scenic commentary about the area on the short drive there, which followed the route of the railway. Upon arrival, most of the handful of people on the bus were left speechless. What an imposing sight this is. In a place like this, you're in no doubt that Mother Nature is in charge, and it's easy to see where Norway's troll folklore comes from when you see mountains like this. This short tour was the perfect length to get us back to Åndalsnes in good time for our afternoon trip on the Romsdal gondola. The views from the cable car are fantastic as the town and the ship disappear below you and the surrounding fjords and mountains properly come into focus. Or at least you think the views are fantastic, because they are nothing compared to what you can see from the top. These cleverly built walkways are well worth exploring, as they provide views in all different directions of the fjord reaching out into the distance and the simply stunning valleys bending around this mountain. Despite the extremely cold wind, it was a thoroughly enjoyable couple of hours up here, although I won't deny that the warming fish soup inside the restaurant helped a lot. What a view it was from the restaurant too, by the way. It was hard to believe we hadn't even crossed the Arctic Circle yet. After the winter wonderland of Åndalsnes yesterday, it's another day of sea for us as we sail north all the way up to Tromsø. We're going nice and quickly. The sea is a little rougher today, of course. The ship is a little quiet. I think people are taking it easy. Another day at sea, of course, means there's lots to see and do. This morning, my mum went to the church service and she's off to the spa later. I'm off to one of the talks. And my thoughts are now turning to the next few days, Tromsø and Alta, in particular Tromsø, where we're due to arrive tomorrow morning, because I've been following the weather online and they've just had a massive winter storm over the last 48 hours. Now, hopefully that means a lot of lovely fresh snow for us, but I'm not sure about the cloud conditions for the Northern Lights. We'll have to wait and see. Good morning, it's day 6 here on Aurora, and what a lovely morning it is as we approach Tromsø. Now, it might not look like it, but the storm has already had its impact on us because we had to go quite slowly yesterday as we sailed up the Norwegian coastline, which means we're going to be about 4 hours late into Tromsø today. That's a real shame, of course, because we spend less time in what is one of my favourite places in Norway. But on the flip side, we get to enjoy this wonderful sail in on this lovely, lovely morning.
By the time we reached Tromsø, the clouds had descended once again, but we didn't care too much as we were going dog sledding, and despite the late arrival, the tour could still go ahead. The drive there was eventful. A road was closed due to the risk of avalanches, so we took the scenic route. Because we arrived late, we jumped into our snowsuits, and after a quick briefing, the dogs told us they were ready. and a few minutes later, we were off.
That was absolutely amazing. I'm sure you could tell from the video that I took, but if you're coming to Alta, Tromsø, or anywhere else in Northern Norway, dog sledding is an absolute must do. Whether you're driving or you're a passenger, it's equally as fun. The sleds don't go as fast as you're expecting, but the experience itself is probably a lot better than you're expecting. And on a day like this, when there's been a lot of fresh snow, it's just out of this world. Look how much snow there is behind me right now here. Anyway, it's time to head back to the ship. And day 6 is almost at an end, and I am still smiling from the dog sledding today. It really was an experience I'm going to remember for a very long time. Now, me and my mom made it back to Aurora just in time to get into the main restaurant, so we didn't even miss dinner. Now it's getting on. We're staying here till 1 a.m. The following morning, so a few more hours to go yet, and a few guests are out on deck hoping to see the Northern Lights, but the cloud is coming in and nothing to be seen so far. But it is just the first of 3 nights up here in the north. We've got 2 nights in Alta to come. Good morning from the back of a very snowy, windy and cold Aurora as we sail down the Alta Fjord for the beginning of day 7 in Alta. We're about to arrive for the first of pretty much 2 full days. We're staying overnight twice in Alta to give guests the best possible chance of seeing the Northern Lights. We didn't see them in Tromsø last night. Hopefully we'll have better luck today. It was an eerie sail down the Alta Fjord early this morning, but we are now about to dock, and I've got a lot planned for the daytime hours, of which there are a lot in mid-March. And of course we'll be out late at night Aurora hunting as well, so it's going to be a packed couple of days. Let's go grab a quick breakfast and see what Alta has in store for us.
Cruise ships in Alta dock out by the city's airport, so a shuttle bus is required to reach the compact city centre. Normally I don't recommend a trip into Alta as there's not a lot to see in the city itself, but we learned in Tromsø the day before that Finnmarksløpet, the long-distance sled dog race, was underway, and so that meant Alta was abuzz with activity. From ice sculptures to watching one of the competitors cross the finish line, this was definitely the most fun I'd had in Alta in the several visits at different times of the year. Another reason we made the trip is that I wanted to show my mum the inside of the Northern Lights Cathedral, which definitely, as you can see, is a must-see. In the evening, we took a trip out to see the Igloo Hotel at Soddisniva, somewhere that was new to me. The short drive there was memorable for the wildlife we saw on the way.
It's about 10 o'clock and I am at Soddisniva, which is the Igloo Hotel here in Alta. We've been here a few hours, had an absolutely lovely dinner and got to tour the Ice Hotel. What a fabulous place. Some really interesting artwork and some really interesting bedrooms. And yes, many people are spending the night in these rooms. Had a drink at the bar and a look around the chapel. And right now, just before returning to the ship, I'm just outside having a look at the sky and I can see a glimpse of the Northern Lights. There's nothing much to write home about at the moment, but there is definitely Aurora activity there. So I'm going to stay out here a little bit longer before heading back to the ship. Fingers crossed the sky will clear properly and we'll see these lights tonight. And how about that? Literally just a minute or 2 after recording that last video, the sky did indeed clear and we had a burst of Aurora. Not the strongest display I've ever seen, to be fair, but a nice stripe or a couple of stripes vertically in the sky right above our heads, just for maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so. But for me, it was mission accomplished because my mum got to see a nice Aurora display. And I believe the group that went out on the snowmobiles also saw the same display on their trip. Hopefully this is a sign of more things to come rather than the only time we'll see Aurora on this trip. That remains to be seen. Let's find out. Right now, it's time to get back to the ship.
Morning everyone, it's day 8 and it's a very snowy day 8. You can barely see anything from the balcony. Believe it or not, the airport is just over there and I've just seen a plane take off just before this snowstorm blew in. I am pretty tired, to be honest. It's been a packed couple of days. We're still in Alta for today, and although I feel like just having a rest, we are off to a Sami camp at a village called Marze, about an hour south of Alta. Probably going to be pretty cold, judging by this. It's always much colder inland. So I am wrapping up warm. I've got 3 layers on already before I put my winter coat on. My mum is really looking forward to today. She has always been fascinated by the Sami people, even long before I moved to Norway, and it became a lot more visible to her then. So I'm looking forward to today, mostly for her. I've gotten to know Sami culture well over the last few years, so I'm also looking forward to going, and I think we're going to take a little reindeer sled ride around the landscape. Hopefully we're going to see a bit more than what I can see from the balcony today. Let's see what's in store.
The weather did indeed improve for our 1-hour drive through the spectacular Alta Canyon to the Sami village. When we arrived, there was a ton of fresh snow on the ground, and even more started to fall. We spotted the reindeer sleds ready and waiting, which pleased my mum enormously. While the sled ride did lack the adrenaline rush of the dog sledding, it was wonderfully relaxing and allowed us to take in the scenery. Even the reindeer seemed to be enjoying themselves. As our Sami guide led us back to the camp, the weather improved, just in time for our lassoing lessons. Many of our group succeeded, whereas I came away insisting it wasn't as easy as it looked. We then headed inside the traditional lavvo to warm up by the fire and hear stories of the Sami culture and lifestyle. This was fascinating, and I could have happily stayed here all day. There's just something about listening to a story around a fire. But alas, it was time to get back to the ship, and as night fell, time for another Northern Lights hunt. But with thick clouds, it didn't look like we were going to have much luck. But as the evening drew on, the sky did clear, and we got to see a little aurora here and there, but you really needed a camera to see it properly in this instance.
So although we did catch a glimpse of the Northern Lights from the ship last night, it wasn't quite what we hoped for. But I know from reading the Facebook group for this cruise, a lot of people did see the lights on excursions from Malta last night. So all in all, I think over the course of this cruise, most people have seen at least some Northern Lights. Now that brings our time in the Norwegian Arctic to an end. It is the morning of day 9. We left Alta late last night, something like 2 a.m. And we're sailing now west, and then we'll be heading south down the Norwegian coastline. 2 full days at sea until we reach our final port, Stavanger. So there's plenty left to see and do on this trip yet. Now it's early morning and room service breakfast is about to arrive any minute. One of the nice things about a P&O cruise is that room service breakfast is included. And that brings me on to food, something I haven't really talked much about yet. And food is such a big part of any holiday, and especially a cruise holiday. So let's take a look at what the food has been like on Aurora.
Every guest on Aurora is assigned to one of 2 main dining rooms, one of which has fixed dining times and one is open seating. The menu is the same in both. As you can see, we ate very well on this cruise. There was always plenty to choose from and a really good range of plant-based options throughout the cruise as well. Aside from the main dining room, there is the buffet restaurant, which is open not just for dinner, but for much of the day, and also a handful of specialty restaurants. Although there are fewer on Aurora than the newer ships simply due to space, I was delighted to find Sindhu, my absolute favourite P&O Cruises restaurant. I actually went to this British Indian restaurant twice during the 12-night voyage and left extremely well fed both times. This lamb was just incredible. The Glasshouse offers a menu of tapas and tempting mains, and a really interesting range of wines and other drinks. It's well worth visiting the bar, even if you choose not to dine here. But you should, because the tapas are excellent, especially the scallops. Finally, the beach house is a pretty casual option of good value Central and South American inspired fare. It was booked out for a lot of the trip, so it's clearly something that P&O Cruises passengers like. Expect sizzling plates.
It's the morning of day 11 and the mood, it's very up and down. It's very mixed on the ship today. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Last night, we actually saw the Northern Lights from the ship and we're quite a long way south now. I don't have any particularly great pictures from it last night because I was focused on just watching the lights with my mum and I really enjoyed spending that time on the balcony with her. So my pictures aren't the best, but yeah, definitely the best we've seen on this trip so far. So a really nice surprise because I wasn't expecting to see anything last night as we were so far south. Now, as you can see, it's a beautiful morning near Stavanger and we're supposed to be docking here today, and I was looking forward, as I think everybody was, to getting off the ship after 2 days at sea. But unfortunately, it's too windy for us to dock. The captain has just made an early morning announcement at about 8 o'clock. We were only due to dock in about 1 hour's time. We're pretty close to Stavanger, but I think everyone can feel, you probably can't see it or appreciate it on video, but it is actually very windy here. And yeah, there's no alternate port nearby. It's just too risky for Aurora to dock. This is always a risk in Norway at any time of year, but especially in the winter and even into March and early April. Cruises can be disrupted in Norway. It's a chance you take on any off-season cruise in Northern Europe. It's part of it. And so, unfortunately, that means another day at sea and then our final day at sea back to Southampton. So 4 days at sea in total, which is not optimum, but there is a lot of things to see and do on Aurora. And to be honest, there are worse places to be than Aurora, being looked after, being fed, watered and pampered. So I'm sure we'll make the most of our final few days on board. But that pretty much brings this adventure to an end. We came for the Northern Lights and we did see the Northern Lights, but that isn't the memory I'm going to take away from this cruise. It's the sensational winter adventures that we've enjoyed, the dog sledding, the visit to the Sami camp, absolutely, going to the Igloo Hotel and seeing the Northern Lights outside. These are the experiences that make a winter cruise for me. The Northern Lights is the icing on the cake. I really hope you've enjoyed this look at a winter cruise to Norway on P&O Cruises and here on Aurora. If you are interested in visiting Norway in the winter, check this video out next for my top tips on what you need to bear in mind to make the most of a trip to Norway in the winter. And as always, thank you for watching.